What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today, hitting you guys with a Giants training camp practice recap. Now, to clarify, they did not practice today. They practiced yesterday, and I wasn't able to get an episode up, but I feel like I have an obligation to let you guys know what happens at every single practice. It's a pledge I made. It's a promise I gave you guys. So I'm going to give you my takeaways from yesterday's practice and kind of recap the last 2 weeks of training camp. They don't get many days off. They get probably one day off per week. And this is one of those days that they have off. And it's their second week of practice finished. So I figured today is a good day to recap yesterday's practice, but also take a look at what's gone down over the last 2 weeks. What are my major takeaways? What am I keeping an eye for as we go through the next few days of camp leading into the first preseason game? That's right, guys, Giants football. It's almost here. It's almost back, and I'm really excited, and I cannot wait to live stream for you guys during the game, give you guys my instant reaction and takeaways to everything going on, not only in the preseason games, but the regular season games as well. It's going to be a really fun season here on Fireside Giants. But in case you're wondering why I didn't get an episode up yesterday, enjoying these summer days. As you can see, I got a lot of color if you're watching on YouTube. Got a lot of sun in me this weekend. Had a great weekend with my beautiful girlfriend and also shot some really low scores on the golf course with my best friend John. And shout out to my friend Carson. Happy birthday to you, upcoming my friend. Had a great golf day today. But we also have some Giants football to talk about. So let's waste no more time and talk about Jackson Dart to Montreal Washington. This is something that I've been keeping an eye on and something that I've mentioned several times here on the channel, especially over the last few days. Montreal Washington is in this mix here with these UDFAs and these young receivers competing for a roster spot on the back end of the Giants' 90-man roster. He's competing, of course, with UDFAs like Bo Collins, Dalen Cambry, Jordan Bly, Antoine Wells Jr., but then their second-year wide receiver, Montreal Washington, who has quickly become Jackson Dart's favorite target in the passing game. He caught another big touchdown grab during Saturday's practice. And this is something that I've said before, and I'll say it again. Because of the chemistry that he's developed with Jackson Dart specifically, Montreal Washington has probably bought himself some more time at Giants training camp. You guys know that there's waves through training camp cuts. They cut some players after the first set of preseason game, the second set of preseason games in the schedule, and then the third. They go ahead and they make waves of cuts. But if you survive that first wave, you survive that second, and you continue to play well, you might just survive that final wave of cuts. Montreal Washington has definitely earned the right to stay for a little bit longer as Jackson Dart's favorite target. And with that added time that he's earned, he clearly has an opportunity to fight for a roster spot. So, as we prepare for this upcoming preseason game against the Buffalo Bills, we know Jackson Dart is going to get some playing time. We know Montreal Washington is going to get some playing time with him. Let's see if they can carry that chemistry and strong play over from training camp practice into the preseason game. Let's see if they can continue to develop their chemistry and build on their success from these team drills and practices. So Montreal Washington, guys, if you're not familiar with him, he's a second-year player. Last year, he was with the Seattle Seahawks. He was a good punt and kick returner last year for Seattle. So knowing that he has that special teams upside, that's important for the Giants. But not only has he demonstrated an ability to participate on special teams, but he's demonstrated an ability to make some plays as a receiver downfield with Jackson Dart throwing the football. So that chemistry could buy him some extra time in camp. Keep an eye on him in this upcoming preseason game. So really excited about Montreal Washington and the chemistry he has with Dart. Moving on to the next topic of conversation, let's update you guys on one of the Giants rookies from this year's class, and that's going to be 5th round pick Marcus Bowe. Now, if you guys watched along during the NFL draft for my instant reaction live streams, you know that I was basically doing proverbial backflips for Marcus Bowe as a 5th round selection. I mean, he was projected to go in round 3 in many mock drafts. If the Giants took him in round 4, I would have been ecstatic. They got him all the way in round 5 after taking the guy, Cam Scadaboo, the running back who I really liked in round 4. It was a great draft for the Giants, but Marcus Bowe falling that far certainly was a surprise. The thing about Marcus Bowe in the 5th round is many of us said, let's see if he can be a developmental player at right tackle. Let's see if he can develop, become a good backup there, and maybe one day push for a starting job at either right tackle or right guard. However, when Bo was drafted, he spoke to the media and said, I am comfortable playing on the right side or the left side. In fact, I am comfortable playing all 5 positions on the offensive line, including center. Wherever the Giants want me, wherever they need me, that's where I want to compete. And where has he been competing? Sure, a little bit here or there at right tackle, but more recently, he's taken a lot of reps at left tackle, and he's looked really good. He's had a lot of solid moments there during team drills, even during one-on-ones, going up against the likes of Carter, Burns, and Thibodeau. He's made some decent plays in pass protection. I'm really impressed so far with Marcus Bo, his ability to compete against this great group of pass rushers that the Giants have. He has been taking first-team reps at left tackle with Andrew Thomas sidelines, and I really could see him competing with James Hudson for that second-string left tackle spot. Now, James Hudson's had his fair share of solid reps as well through camp. He is the leader in the clubhouse to be the left tackle, the backup left tackle for the Giants, but there's definitely room for competition there. And I do believe that Marcus Bo is making it a battle. And I'm very excited again for this preseason to see which of these 2 backup left tackles performs better, who ends up the second string left tackle by the time the season rolls around. Because as we know, a lot of question marks and concerns surrounding Andrew Thomas. He's missed 18 games the last 2 years. He's played in only 16. He's not healthy yet to play. He's been warming up a little bit on the sidelines at practice. Seems like he's nearing a return, but he's not quite there yet. There is some cause for concern. Will he be ready for week 1? Most likely, but not definitely. So in the meantime, this left tackle battle is becoming a critical one for the Giants. And right now, it looks like Marcus Bo is certainly making a push for left tackle 2 for the New York Giants. So that's the update there. Back to Jackson Dart. He didn't have his strongest practice on Saturday, but I will say this as a positive. This was his first quote-unquote bad practice since probably training camp practice number 3. He had a very consistent string of solid practices. As you all know, he's primarily playing with the second team, sometimes with the third, but mostly with the second team, getting more reps than Jameis Winston even with the second team. He's had a lot of really good days, some a little bit more shaky than others, but yesterday's was his worst in a little while. So just an update there. It's not something to be concerned about. In fact, I think this is a good thing. This means that the Giants are challenging him. This means that he's not on autopilot, just cruising through these practices. They're not making it easy on him. I want to see this rookie have some bad days. I don't want it to be all peaches and roses for him. I don't want it to be easy. He's not going to get better unless he's failing. You learn from failure. That's why I always say at training camp, don't put too much stock in a young player making some mistakes, turning the ball over, and struggling in some of these practices. That's a good thing. It's important for them to struggle. If Jackson Dart was lighting it up, 100% completion rate in every single practice, that would be more of a red flag for me than if he had a few bad days here or there. It's important to have those bad days, learn from them, and grow. And Jackson Dart has explained that that's what he does. He doesn't feel like a robot, and he feels like he's making mistakes, and he's learning from them, so that's important. So that's the update on yesterday's practice for Jackson Dart. Now, another thing I'll mention, yesterday and the previous 2 days, as you guys know, if you've been keeping along with these daily uploads, I was at Thursday and Friday's training camp practice. What I will say is on Friday, I saw the Giants practicing one specific route to Theo Johnson. Not a complex route, a check and release. The Giants were doing some individual drills, quarterback warm-ups, basically. They were throwing into a net. They were throwing to some coaches and training staff members, just basically getting warmed up. Meanwhile, the offensive and defensive line were doing one-on-ones over here. On the far field, the receivers were doing one-on-ones with the corners. Over there, the special teams was doing their own individual drills. It was individual time. But during the quarterback's individual time, one of those tight end / receivers was not off on the far field. Theo Johnson was with the quarterbacks, and they kept practicing one specific route, which was the check and release. If you're unfamiliar, the check and release, the tight end chip blocks a pass rusher, then releases into the flat, ready for a quick pass. So the Giants on Friday practice that with Theo Johnson. He caught those passes and practiced that route with all of the quarterbacks, all four of them, Russ, Jameis, Dart, and Tommy. And then when they went into the team drills, they kind of spammed that route quite a few times. They kept having Theo Johnson do the check and release. And that continued yesterday. He caught a couple passes in the flat. They've been really trying to find ways to get him the ball early in the play. We know he's athletic and he's big and he's bruising. If you guys remember last year against Dallas, he had some great run after the catch moments, even hurdled a player. That's a big part of Theo Johnson's game, is getting the ball in his hands in space and letting him be this big barreling beast running downfield. And that's what the check and release can help them accomplish. Get the ball out of the quarterback's hands very quickly, a little chip on a Micah Parsons, hopefully leaving the division, but on a great pass rusher, a little chip, then a release, catch the ball. Hopefully you've got some space in front of you. And that's what they've been practicing with Theo Johnson. That's why he's seen so many targets and why he's picked up so many receptions in the last 3 practices. So keep an eye on that route, not only from Theo Johnson in these upcoming preseason games, but also I would imagine the Giants just like the concept of a check and release. That's something that Mike Kafka used obviously quite heavily during his time in Kansas City. I think Travis Kelce is like the GOAT of the check and release. So expect the Giants to run those routes a lot with their tight ends, including Bellinger, Fedoni, Manhertz, and Dulcich during the preseason. Keep an eye on the check and release. So that's one thing that I'll mention there. Now, I want to round this out with the defensive backs. The Giants have seen some pretty great improvements from their secondary. Obviously, we know that they signed Javon Holland this offseason. They signed Paulson and Debo, but it's those returning players that really are so critical to this team. But we see some strides from these second-year players. But we see some strides from third-year cornerback Deonte Banks. Well, yesterday there was a clip that went viral, and it was a clip of Deonte Banks sticking with Malik Nabers during a one-on-one man coverage. It was great technique. There were some who commented on it and were like, oh, that's a hold. That's never going to work in a game. He's holding him. Guys, he really wasn't holding him. He had his hand on his hip, and he stuck with him every single second of the rep. If he put his second hand on the other hip and pulled or held, then yes, it would be a hold. But the proper technique is to put that hand on the hip and trace the wide receiver that way and stick with him in coverage. And that's exactly what Deonte Banks did. To me, it looked like a textbook rep. It was one of those reps that I say, hey, there are reasons that I believe in Deonte Banks. There are flashes of potential. This is one of those moments. This is why I think he could be a good player. So, positive update on Deonte Banks. Not a pass breakup. The ball went too high. It wasn't catchable, but it would have been the tightest of windows if it was an accurate ball to Malik Nabers' chest. It would have been an interception for Deonte Banks. So, a really good coverage rep there in one-on-one. I don't know how the rest of his day necessarily went, but I did see that rep. To stick with Nabers in one-on-one like that in man coverage, definitely an encouraging sign. Hopefully, we see some more of that from Deonte Banks. Now, let's talk about the other 2 defensive backs, second-year players. Tyler Nubin, let's start with him. He's been a ball hawk the last week. He's nabbed several interceptions. He had 2 on Friday. I broke those down in yesterday's or the day before's episode. He had one he fell out of bounds for, but another one that he picked off acrobatically and caught it inbounds. Yesterday, he also had some pass breakups. Essentially, my point being, Tyler Nubin, all around the ball. He spoke this week about how Javon Holland has really helped him, how having Holland in that secondary with him has given him more clarity and has given him more direction. And now he feels like he knows better than before where to go and when to be there and how to break on the ball. So seeing a lot of plays on the ball, great ball skills from Tyler Nubin, very encouraging sign. And also, Drew Phillips has been making a ton of plays. He has looked like, in the eyes of many, the best cover corner for the Giants at camp so far. Again, yes, they signed Paulson Adebo. He's their CB1. But this nickel cornerback, Drew Phillips, entering his second season, we all know how special he was last year, especially in run defense. But going into year 2, looks like his coverage has improved. Looks like he is sticking to receivers like glue out of the slot. Very encouraging signs there. Drew Phillips mentioned that he got LASIK eye surgery this offseason. He couldn't see the ball very much last year, he said, and it hurt his ball skills and it hurt his ability to attack the football, make plays on it. But at camp so far, he has been snagging a few more interceptions, making a few more pass breakups, and he credits the LASIK eye surgery, says he can see the ball much more clearly and make plays now. And he had a great rep against Jalen Hyatt yesterday that I saw during one-on-ones. Now, a lot of fans were dunking on Jalen Hyatt, saying it was a poor rep from him. I'm going to tell you guys, honestly, I think it was a fine rep from Jalen Hyatt. It was a slot fade. He used an outside release. He didn't drift too far where the sideline was going to interfere. He had space if the ball was thrown out and up, and he could run under it, but it was an underthrown ball to the inside rather than to the outside shoulder. And unfortunately, because it was underthrown, Drew Phillips was able to make a play on the ball, and a lot of fans were quick to jump on Jalen Hyatt and blame him for that. That rep was not Jalen Hyatt's fault. That was a bad throw from Russ. And you guys know how much I love Russ, how much I think he's an elite deep ball passer. He is, and he has been throughout camp. Everybody has a bad play here or there. A lot of people were jumping on me on social media. It was one bad throw from Russ, and it's totally fine. It's just a single rep, but not fair to jump on Jalen Hyatt for that one, in my opinion. Sure, could he have been a little bit more physical, working back to the ball? I guess, but it was underthrown by like 5 yards, guys. Cut the kid a break. I thought it was a fine outside release, and if this ball was thrown up and away, I think he could have ran underneath. It would have been a tight window, but Russ is capable of making those throws. I'm sure Russ himself knows he missed that one. However, still on that play, sticky man coverage against a slot fade from Drew Phillips because he wasn't too far behind him, and when the ball was thrown, he got his head around really fast and made a play on it. Impressive rep from Drew Phillips. Two things can be true. It can be a fine rep from Hyatt, and it can be a better rep from the cornerback. It's totally okay and totally true in this case. But that's pretty much going to wrap up my takeaways from yesterday's episode. Actually, one last thing. Wan'Dale Robinson had the most ridiculous touchdown grab yesterday. This ball was thrown up there into traffic. It was battered around, and while he was laying on his back, the ball just dropped into his chest. He caught it, stood up, and ran into the end zone. It was pretty crazy. But the takeaway from that is not that he made an acrobatic catch. The takeaway is he's been receiving a lot of downfield targets from Russell Wilson, which I do think is encouraging. As you guys know, I think that Wan'Dale is a better down-the-field receiver than he was given credit for in the past due to poor quarterback play. But the Giants have given him a lot more targets past the sticks this year, and I'm encouraged to see him get a little bit more involved in that regard. But that is going to wrap up my takeaways from yesterday's episode, guys. In terms of totally over the last 2 weeks, Jackson Dart, a lot of positive practices, only a couple of bad ones, but that's important. Russ and Malik have been the standouts of the offense. Russ has looked really good at camp, guys, honestly. Yeah, he's had a couple bad practices here, maybe a couple bad reps here or there, but generally speaking, his chemistry with Malik Neighbors is palpable, and Neighbors looks like he could be the offensive player of the year. I'm that serious. He's looked that good at training camp. Defensively, you guys know the major takeaway. This defensive line is going to be a freaking problem for offensive linemen. Abdul Carter looks like he is going to be a special player for the Giants. And in the secondary, we're seeing a lot of progress from these young guys. Cordell Flott making some plays. Even Deonte Banks now showing some signs of improvement. D. Williams, the cornerback, was making some great plays yesterday. And also Drew Phillips and Tyler Nubin. So progress in the secondary, elite pass rush, elite deep ball passing from Russ to Leak. Maybe some inconsistencies with the other playmakers, but generally speaking, things are positive right now. First 2 weeks of practice done. Let's get into Monday's practice and also into training camp this week. Preseason this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned to the channel. We've got a lot of great content planned. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go, New York Giants.
Perfect.